June 13th, 1944, 0640 hours, near Villers-Bocage, Normandy. The morning mist clings low over the hedgerows, damp earth, crushed grass, the metallic cough of engines warming in the half-light. Inside a German Panzer IV, Oberfeldwebel Karl Brenner wipes condensation from his periscope. He sees them first, silhouettes pushing through the haze. American tanks. Boxy, high profile, narrow tracks chewing at the mud. He exhales through his nose and smirks. Shermans. Around him, the crew chuckles. The loader taps the side of a shell casing like a man tapping a beer mug in a tavern. Even the gunner, young and pale from weeks without sleep, relaxes slightly. They have seen these before. Thin armor, tall frame, easy prey for a long-barreled 75mm KWK-40. Brenner has heard the stories from the Eastern Front, how Tigers under SS Hauptsturmführer Michael Wittmann punched through Shermans and over a kilometer. One shot, one flame, the Americans climbing out like sparks from a forge. Through the sight, the first Sherman rolls into view. Its commander stands half exposed in the cupola, scanning the hedgerows with binoculars, confident, unaware. Brenner adjusts his headset. Range, 800 meters. The gunner's crosshairs settle on the flat front plate. Too easy. Feuer! The 75mm cracks like thunder. The shell streaks forward and slams into steel. The Sherman erupts in orange flame. Its turret hatch bursts open. Smoke pours skyward. The German crew cheers. One shot, just like training. Through the drifting smoke, Brenner counts more shapes emerging from the mist. 3, 5, 10. He frowns. The radio crackles, reports of additional American columns moving through the lanes. Not a single platoon, not a probing patrol. An advance. He adjusts the sight again, fires, another Sherman burns, but they keep coming. You can almost hear it, not just engines but production, Detroit steel, assembly lines, crates of spare parts crossing the Atlantic, a distant hum behind every advancing track. The Germans had mocked this tank from the first moment they faced it in North Africa. Compared to the Tiger I's 88mm cannon, the Sherman seemed fragile, under-armored, inferior. But what if fragility multiplied? Another shot, another explosion. Still they come. Brenner's loader is sweating now. The gun barrel glows faintly in the early sun. The smell of propellant thickens inside the turret. And for the first time, the laughter fades. Because through the rising smoke, more Shermans are cresting the hill. Not 2, not 10, dozens. And this is only the beginning. The hedgerows shake with concussion. Brenner's Panzer IV rocks backward as the loader slams another round into the breach. The gunner fires again. A Sherman jerks, flames licking from its engine deck. But the American column doesn't scatter. It adjusts. 2 Shermans swing wide, using the bocage as cover. Another halts and lays down suppressing fire. High explosive shells detonate against the hedgerow, showering the German position with dirt and splintered roots. These are not amateurs. Inside the Sherman platoon, a lieutenant from the U.S. 4th Armored Division shouts corrections into his radio. He knows the German guns outrange him. He knows his armor cannot match a Tiger I head-on. So he does something else. He moves. Shermans were never meant to duel at distance. Their strength lies in speed, mechanical reliability, and numbers. While a Tiger's Maybach engine demands delicate maintenance, the Sherman's radial engine starts in rain, mud, or dust.
If one breaks, another replaces it. If two burn, four roll forward. Another Panzer round punches through a Sherman's turret. The American tank halts. Its crew bails out under covering fire from the others, and the line keeps advancing. Brenner wipes sweat from his upper lip. His loader's hands are shaking now. The radio crackles with urgency. More contacts east. Panthers engaging, but they're outflanked. Outflanked? He turns his periscope. To his left, beyond the tree line, Sherman's silhouettes multiply. Dust trails snake across the fields, columns stretching back toward the beaches, toward the horizon. This is not a skirmish. This is industry at war. Back in England, General Dwight Eisenhower stands before a wall-sized operations map. Colored pins mark divisions pouring into Normandy. Behind him lies the full weight of American production. Factories in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, churning out nearly 50,000 M4 Shermans over the course of the war. 50,000. Germany will build barely 1,300 Tiger Is. Brenner does not know these numbers. He only feels them. His loader reaches for another shell, and the rack is almost empty. 5 rounds left. 5. A Sherman 75mm shell slams into the hedgerow beside them. Dirt rains down inside the open commander's hatch. Another detonates against their frontal plate. The Panzer shudders. The optics crack. Through fractured glass, Brenner sees something he did not expect. American infantry running alongside the tanks, coordinated, covering blind spots, advancing deliberately. This isn't reckless charging, it's pressure, relentless, grinding pressure. He fires again, miss. The Shermans close the distance, 300 meters, 200. Their smaller guns may struggle against heavy armor, but at this range, even a Panzer IV is vulnerable. The first Sherman flanks them from the right. Brenner shouts for traverse. Too slow. The American tank fires. The impact is deafening. Sparks explode across the interior. Smoke fills the compartment. The engine sputters. For a split second, there is silence. Then another Sherman appears behind the first. Then another. And somewhere beyond this field, more are landing. More are rolling off ships. More are fueling up for the push toward Paris. This is not about who wins a duel. It's about who never stops arriving. As Brenner's crippled Panzer begins to burn, he realizes something cold and unavoidable. They are not fighting a tank. They are fighting a nation that can replace every loss. And tomorrow, there will be more.
July 18, 1944. Operation Goodwood, east of Caen. The ground trembles before dawn. More than 1,000 British and Canadian tanks line up across the Rhine River bridgehead. Among them, hundreds of Shermans. Engines idle, crews whisper final checks. The sky above is thick with Allied bombers preparing to carpet the German lines. In a concealed position near Caen, Hauptmann Ernst Richter of the 21st Panzer Division listens to the distant thunder. He has fought in Poland, France, Russia. He commands Panthers now, machines with sloped armor and the high-velocity 75mm KWK-42. On paper, the Panther is superior to anything the British or Americans field. He believes it. When the bombing begins, the earth convulses. Dust clouds swallow the horizon. Richter grips the edge of his cupola as shock waves slam into his position. Communications falter. Anti-tank guns vanish under debris. Then the bombing stops, and through the settling haze, they appear. Shermans. Dozens at first, then hundreds. They roll in tight formations across open ground, supported by artillery creeping forward in timed barrages. Infantry carriers follow behind. The line stretches farther than Richter can see. He whispers,
almost involuntarily, "Mein Gott." He knows his Panthers can destroy them at long range. He gives the order to fire. The first Shermans erupt in flame. British crews scramble from burning hulls. The Panthers pick them off methodically, 1,200 meters, 1,000, 800. But the line does not break. New Shermans fill the gaps. More crest the ridges. More advance through smoke. You can almost feel the shift, not in firepower, but in tempo. The Germans fight defensively, carefully, conserving ammunition, each tank precious. The Allies fight with momentum, accepting losses, maintaining pressure. Richter hears reports over the radio, other sectors collapsing, anti-tank guns overrun, supply trucks destroyed by fighter bombers, fuel shortages worsening. A Panther beside him takes a direct hit from a 17-pounder mounted on a British Firefly variant of the Sherman. The German tank explodes violently, ammunition cooking off in a towering blast. The Firefly. Even the inferior Sherman has evolved. The Allies adapt faster than Germany can respond. By the end of Goodwood, hundreds of Allied tanks will be knocked out. The fields around Caen will burn with twisted steel. German crews will point to the wreckage and claim proof of superiority. But what they do not see, what Richter cannot yet grasp, is the replacement convoys already crossing the Channel. Factories in Detroit do not mourn, they produce. For every Panther destroyed, there is no immediate substitute. For every Tiger lost, months of precision engineering vanish in smoke. For every Sherman destroyed, another is already on the way. Richter watches through binoculars as yet another Allied formation assembles beyond artillery range. He lowers the glasses slowly. For the first time since 1939, he feels it. Not doubt in his tank, doubt in the outcome. Because this war is no longer about tactical brilliance, it is about endurance. And endurance favors the side that can lose and still advance. Far to the west, American armored divisions are preparing for something even larger, a breakout that will turn defensive survival into pursuit. And when that happens, the Shermans will not crawl through hedgerows, they will race.
July 25, 1944, 09:38 hours, near St. Lo. The sky turns black at mid-morning. 1,500 American heavy bombers roar overhead in tight formation. B-17s and B-24s release their payloads in synchronized waves. The ground below becomes a rolling shock wave of dirt and shattered trees. Operation Cobra. Inside a Sherman of the U.S. 2nd Armored Division, Staff Sergeant William Harlan braces as the concussions ripple through the hull. Dust filters in through every seam. The radio is alive with static and clipped voices. "Stand by, stand by." When the bombing lifts, the horizon looks scraped clean. German defensive lines, trenches, anti-tank guns, observation posts have been pulverized. Survivors are dazed, communications severed, armor scattered. "Move." Harlan pushes the throttle forward. The Sherman lurches out of its concealed position and into open ground. No hedgerow maze this time. No cautious creeping. This is acceleration. To the east, remnants of the German 7th Army attempt to regroup. Panther and Panzer IV crews scramble to establish new defensive positions, but the bombing has fractured cohesion. Orders arrive late, if they arrive at all. American armored columns punch through the weakened sector like water through cracked stone. You can almost feel the release. For weeks, the Shermans had been grinding yard by yard through Normandy's suffocating bocage.
Now the terrain opens. Rolling countryside, roads. Roads means speed. Speed means exploitation. Harlan's column advances nearly 20 miles in a single day, something unthinkable in June. German strongpoints are bypassed. Infantry follows to mop up. Fuel trucks race forward behind the spearhead. Inside a German Panther near Coutances, Lieutenant Dieter Falk studies his map in disbelief. Where are they? The answer: everywhere. Shermans appear on flanks once considered secure. Bridges are seized before demolition charges can be detonated. Supply depots fall intact. Fuel runs short. Falk receives a report. American tanks have reached Avranches. Avranches? That means the road to Brittany and beyond is open. He remembers the early jokes about the Sherman, the tall silhouette, the tendency to burn when penetrated, the nickname Tommy Cooker. He doesn't laugh now, because the Sherman is no longer fighting him head-on. It's bypassing him, encircling him, outrunning him. By August, the Falaise Pocket begins to form. German forces trapped between converging Allied armies attempt desperate breakout attempts along narrow corridors choked with wreckage. Shermans line the ridges, firing down into columns of retreating vehicles, Panthers, half-tracks, horse-drawn supply wagons. The myth of German armored invincibility dissolves not in one dramatic duel, but in traffic jams of destruction. Falk watches from a tree line as smoke pillars rise across the valley. He counts wrecks through binoculars. Too many. He lowers the glasses. It is not that the Sherman is unbeatable. It is that it never stops coming. Every destroyed American tank seems to reappear days later in another column, another division, another axis of advance. The German army, once the master of blitzkrieg, now experiences its own doctrine turned against it. Relentless momentum, steel without pause. And somewhere far behind the front lines, assembly lines in the United States continue humming, indifferent to the mud of Normandy. Falk folds his map slowly. He understands now something that no technical specification chart could explain. War is not decided by the best machine. It is decided by the machine that arrives last, when the other side has nothing left. And the Shermans are not slowing down. Ahead lies Paris, and beyond Paris, the German border.
August 25, 1944, Paris. Church bells ring over the Seine. Shermans of the U.S. 4th Infantry Division and the French 2nd Armored Division rumble past cheering crowds. Flowers strike the halls. Civilians climb onto engine decks still warm from the drive. Staff Sergeant Harlan peers from his cupola, stunned at the sudden shift from artillery thunder to applause. Weeks ago, they were burning in hedgerows. Now they are liberators. But the war does not pause for celebration. Orders come quickly, push east. Fuel convoys stretch thin. Maintenance crews work through the night, replacing tracks, patching penetrations, swapping engines in muddy fields. The Sherman's design reveals its quiet strength here. Parts interchangeable, repairs straightforward, crews trained to fix their own machines under canvas tarps. Across the Rhine frontier, Oberst Lieutenant Heinrich Kruger studies intelligence briefings with a tightening jaw. American armored divisions are advancing faster than anticipated. Bridges are seized intact, rail lines disrupted, Luftwaffe presence minimal. He looks at production reports. Germany cannot match this tempo anymore. Panther factories are bombed. Fuel from Romania is uncertain. Replacement crews are younger, less experienced. Tigers break down as often as they fight.
Kruger remembers 1940, France collapsing in weeks under German panzers, the world stunned by speed. Now it is reversed. Sherman columns move along highways in disciplined lines. Tank destroyers and self-propelled artillery guard the flanks. Fighter bombers prowl overhead. In September, at the Siegfried Line, German anti-tank gunners wait behind Dragon's Teeth and concrete bunkers. They knock out Shermans. Flames rise again. But this time, there is no illusion that destruction equals victory. Because new American units rotate into line, new Shermans roll forward. The battlefield becomes arithmetic. Losses tallied, replacements delivered. Kruger stands near Aachen in October, listening to distant gunfire. He has one operational Panther company left in his sector. One. Opposite him, multiple American armored divisions. He does not blame the Panther. It is a formidable machine, sloped armor, high-velocity gun. When it hits, it kills. But it cannot be everywhere. It cannot be everywhere at once. Shermans fan out across Belgium, Luxembourg, and eastern France. Some are fitted with dozer blades to clear obstacles. Others carry flamethrowers for bunker assaults. Variants multiply. Command tanks, recovery vehicles, amphibious versions. Adaptable, available, replaceable. And in December, when the German army launches one last gamble in the Ardennes, Shermans once again stand in the snow, burning, advancing, returning. Kruger watches the reports come in during the Battle of the Bulge, initial German breakthroughs, surprise, optimism. Then resistance stiffens. Shermans from reserve units counterattack flanks. Supply lines falter. Weather clears. Allied air power returns. The familiar pattern repeats. Momentum regained. German fuel exhausted. By early 1945, American armored columns approach the Rhine. The river is wide, cold, symbolic. Beyond it lies the Reich itself. Shermans gather at the banks, engines idling, exhaust drifting into the gray sky. 50,000 built, thousands lost, thousands more still rolling. They were mocked for thin armor. They were called inferior. But here, at the edge of Germany, it is not the thickest armor that remains. It is the armor that kept coming. And across the river, German commanders know something they would never have admitted in 1944. They are not losing to a tank. They are losing to inevitability.
March 7th, 1945, Remagen. Morning fog hangs over the Rhine like breath on cold glass. A forward reconnaissance unit from the U.S. 9th Armored Division rounds a bend in the road and freezes. The Ludendorff Bridge is still standing. German engineers scramble with detonators. Charges are wired. Orders are confused. Someone hesitates. An American Sherman surges forward, machine gun rattling toward the far bank. Infantry sprint behind it, boots slapping against steel grating. The bridge explodes, but it does not fall. Smoke clears. It still stands. Within hours, more Shermans roll across, engines echoing over the river that had once been considered an unbreakable barrier. German artillery pounds the span, but the crossing holds long enough. Steel crosses into the heart of Germany. Inside a Panther near the Ruhr, Oberstleutnant Kruger listens to fragmented reports. Remagen breached. Bridgeheads established. American armor across the Rhine. He closes his eyes for a moment. He remembers the early war briefings, the emphasis on superior optics, superior armor thickness, superior gunnery, the belief that qualitative advantage could offset quantity. For a time, it had.
But now, superiority means little without numbers. Shermans pour through the breach in disciplined columns. Some are scarred from Normandy, others fresh from depots in Antwerp. Crews rotate, mechanics replace tracks overnight, fuel arrives in endless convoys. Germany cannot replace what it loses. Factories are rubble, rail lines shattered, fuel reserves gone. In April, American armored divisions encircle the Ruhr pocket, trapping hundreds of thousands of German troops. Sherman tanks stand guard along highways lined with surrendered soldiers, long columns of gray uniforms stretching beyond sight. Kruger steps out of his Panther for the last time. The engine has failed again. There are no spare parts. He watches as distant American tanks move methodically along the ridge, not rushing, not desperate, certain. The laughter from Normandy feels like a memory from another lifetime. He once believed the Sherman was fragile. He now understands the difference between fragility and expendability. A Tiger is precious. A Panther is valuable. A Sherman is replaceable. And in total war, replaceable is unstoppable. April 25, 1945, Elbe River. American Shermans link up with Soviet T-34s advancing from the east. Soldiers exchange cigarettes atop steel hulls that had crossed an entire continent. From the beaches of Normandy to the heart of Germany, they have rolled through hedgerows, cities, forests, and snow. 50,000 built, enough to absorb loss, enough to sustain momentum, enough to make mockery irrelevant. When Berlin falls days later, it will not be a Sherman that fires the final shot, but the road to that moment, mile after mile, was paved by them. They were not the thickest armored, they were not the most feared in a one-on-one duel. They were simply there, everywhere. And in the end, that was enough.